Hello, everybody, and welcome to another KMU Live podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Tebrugge, coming to you from Salina, Kansas. And joining me again tonight, Derek Releford, hanging out with me down there in Elkhart. How's everything going down there?
All right, man. I've had a rough couple of weeks in my personal life, but I think the last 2 days, I think everything should be kind of worked out. So I think I'm better. I'm better today for sure.
That's good. Good deal. I had a pretty rough Friday. Had to take my daughter to an appointment and got done with that. And then literally went a block over to the pharmacy to pick up her meds from the pharmacy. And as I'm backing out of the parking space at the pharmacy, something in my front end on my driver's side of my van broke. The driver's side dropped a little bit. Then I had this bang, 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 bang underneath the front end. So I shut off the van real fast because it wasn't moving. Had to call a tow truck. Had to have them tow me to the shop. Cost me $120.
Jeez.
And then I get a phone call Monday letting me know that apparently a shock rusted through and broke. So they said my passenger side's getting ready to do the same thing. So they got to replace that one. And they said it pulled my drive axle loose at the same time. So they got to fix that. So they told me there's another $1,200. So yeah, it's been been a heck of a week since Friday.
Jeez, man.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I just had trouble with my bank card. Dude, at 2 different gas stations today, they declined me, and I had to call them because they thought my card was stolen, and I was never more than 25 miles from my house.
Oh wow.
And each time you call, I'm with Bank of America. Every time I called them, it was like 29 minutes, 30 minutes to get a human being on the phone for them just to push a few. They're like, was it you trying to buy bread at a gas station real close to your house? I'm like, uh-huh. That was me.
Oh man. Yeah, I get stuff like that from my debit card too. They'll message me and say, do you recognize this? Is this you? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it at all, bro. I don't like it at all. Queenie is here. Raven is here.
Cool.
Christopher Unruh is here. Yeah, we got a lot of cases to get through. Anything new this week in the true crime world that's caught your attention in the news? Or
trying to think if there's anything that's really caught my eye. Not much, really. I'm trying to follow up with who the heck was it? It's one of the WWE wrestlers that was living in California. I've got to check and see if she's been located because they've been having trouble locating her with all the fires going on over there and stuff. So I'll see if they've made contact there. If not, I'll do a flyer for her. But other than that, there was a missing gal over, where was it? In one of the Carolinas, I believe, was found murdered and got somebody arrested for that. So that's a good thing. But not much else I've heard of this week, actually.
Well, there's always a lot going on. Everybody watching, please share. Please tell your friends that we're live. And in the comments, let us know any true crime news or updates that you're aware of. You're watching Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. We'll be right back after this.
Part 1. Cold cases, stories left untold, families seeking answers, and justice waiting in the shadows. Together, we uncover the truth.
Okay, we're gonna real quick. I want to bring this up real fast. Just a reminder to everybody that January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And if you believe you're a victim of human trafficking, or you know somebody that you may be a victim of human trafficking, you can call that 888-373-7888, or text "Be Free" to 23373, and let somebody know what's going on, and they'll get you in the right direction to where you need to go and what you need to do. Okay, you want to pop Dietrich back up there for me again?
Gotcha.
All right, and we'll talk about Dietrich here. We've been covering his case for quite some time. Missing from Independence, Kansas since April 12, 2020. 37 when he went missing. He's now 42. He's 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. He was reported missing on May 12th. He was last seen around April 12th in Independence. KBI agents and detectives from the Independence Police Department are conducting the case as a homicide based upon findings during the investigation of Dietrich's disappearance. Again, he was 37 when he went missing. He's now 42, 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. Has a scar on his chest from heart surgery. He has a scar on the right side of his nose. Has the following tattoos: a cross on his right forearm, the astrological sign for Gemini on his right arm, 3 dice on his arm, the name Dejanay on his arm and the word "foo" on his abdomen. If you have any information regarding Dietrich's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Independence, Kansas Police Department at 620-332-1700 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. There is a governor's reward of $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the disappearance and suspected murder of Dietrich Foster. So if you have any information at all, no matter how small you might think it be or minute it might be, call it in. Let the law enforcement agencies there know what you got and let them determine whether it's something that needs to be looked into further. See if we can't get him found and brought home. Derek, what are you asking? Who's ready for SummerSlam?
I'm trying to find the advert for it. I'll find it between next flyer, but basically in the last, I don't know, since I started covering that case in Oklahoma, here in Oklahoma, there's a couple YouTube channels, and we're all trying to get the same outcome, but there's a lot of bickering between us. So we're trying to orchestrate an event in Elkhart. I invited you to it. It's the thing I sent you the message about the other day.
Okay.
We're trying to orchestrate like where we get a bunch of YouTube true crime YouTube channels to come to Elkhart, and we're gonna have like a quote unquote crime, and then each team will have the whole day to scour Elkhart and solve the the fictitious crime, and the winner of the event gets a wrestling, like a very nice wrestling belt, and they get to be crowned the best YouTube channel of the world for the next year. Ricky, I think you should join SummerSlam with your team. You and Double T come down, you compete because you like wrestling. You would love to have the best YouTuber wrestling belt behind you right there. I know you'd love to have it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Trying to keep up with a few messages here. Somebody just, I don't know if it's a comment or a message. Who are we talking about here? Oh, okay.
Okay. That's one of the teams that I will beat at SummerSlam.
Sorry about that.
I am the best YouTuber ever. It's going to be great.
I saw somebody comment, "That's my belt."
Yeah, and I was telling the other people, the other YouTubers, I was like, Ricky, if we can get Ricky there, we could just print tons of flyers. We could we have plenty of time to plan it, so we could plan out and really just print off every flyer that you have right now that still needs to be aired. It would be an event for sure to have a lot of that, and there's going to be a lot. Everybody's going to be streaming. Obviously, Kent Williams wants the belt. He is on Back Home Media's team. And Ricky, I am your producer and we are teammates, but when it comes to that belt, I will have to go against you, buddy.
What belt are we talking about exactly? Anyway, do we have a belt or what?
I'm gonna get one made. I'm gonna get one made. Yeah.
I mean, I already have a belt actually. Hang on a second, I'll grab it. Hang on.
Okay, you can grab your belt, but it doesn't say best YouTuber on the planet for a whole year. Like these odds, man, are. Think of the bragging rights, if your channel is crowned best YouTube channel on the planet and you get the belt, you can talk so much trash,
Okay, everybody knows I'm a wrestling fan. That's not a secret. And I wanted to do something for Kansas Missing and Unsolved that kind of combine, my passion for missing persons and my passion for wrestling, and I had this belt made. So I do have a Kansas Missing and Unsolved belt.
Okay. Okay,
and so it has one of the side plates.
See, yes, I knew you were gonna want the belt. Once I mentioned that there was potentially gonna be a wrestling belt, I knew you would be in, man.
So yeah, I had to do it though, because my passion for missing persons, my passion for pro wrestling, I had to do something that expressed me, and that's what I thought would be the best way to do it.
And Raven, I'll look it up, but there's probably, I'll look it up while you read this next flyer, but there's probably over 500, but I will check it out right now. Yes, Ricky's belt is nice, but I promise you, the one for best podcast ever is going to be so magnificent. Kill Williams is going to want it so bad. Jessica Jensen is here checking in. We will be covering her father's flyer here in just a little bit. Go ahead and tell us everything about Alexander Perez, and I'll get some comments lined up and everything for us for the next break here.
Alrighty. That's such a long list of flyers. I actually pulled 3 of them before the show because I believe they were located, and I need to verify that. But
Is that you're in your text right now? You're trying to see if people are located, or
yeah, I had somebody comment that, thank God they were found, and I had to see who they were referring to, and that was 2 of the ones that I had pulled because I was going through before the show, clicking on KBI links, and the 2 of them had been removed, and then I found another one that had been removed. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's always good when they're located safe. I like that. It was 2 13-year-old girls that were missing out of Wichita, and thankfully they were both located and from the sounds of it, safe. So
one thing I'll say again, we don't know anybody's circumstances. If you're younger and you're thinking about taking off on your own, just know that Ricky will put your flyer all over the internet. So I think if I was younger, I wouldn't want my face on a missing person's Facebook page. So the fact that we don't have to show them and stuff, like, that's great, and they get to go home and just, do what they got to do at home.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I did recently, I put up a post, on if everybody's seen it or not, but I did actually start a profile on Blue Sky to expand KMU's reach a little further. Blue Sky is owned and ran by the guy that used to own and run Twitter before Elon Musk purchased it, and it's almost a carbon copy of Twitter, really. But I'm, like I said, I started a profile for it, so follow us over there at Kansas Missing on Blue Sky if you want to. I mean, this page will always be the main page. The Facebook page will always be the main page, but I wanted to branch out to make sure we expand our reach a little further. So anyway, getting back to Alexander Perez. He's missing from Ulysses, Kansas since December 1st, 2020. He was 35 when he went missing. He's now 39. He's 5'11", 235 pounds, black hair that he shaves, nearly bald, and brown eyes. He called a family member via telephone on December 1st, said he'd be coming over to do some laundry. He never arrived at the family member's home in Ulysses, and he has not been heard from or seen by family or friends since then. He had been staying with family and friends prior to his disappearance. Again, when he went missing, he was 35. He's now 39, 5'11", 235 pounds, black hair that he shaves, nearly bald, and brown eyes. Has a tattoo of a bumblebee on his face underneath his left eye. Has Perez tattooed on one of his arms. Has a tattoo of a cross on a chain across his chest. If you have any information regarding Alexander's disappearance, his whereabouts, please call the Grant County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-356-3500, or the Ulysses, Kansas Police Department at 620-356-4600, or the KBI at 785-296-4017, and see if we can't help get Alex located and back home to his family where he needs to be.
I just made a comment from the studio from Ricky's YouTube page, and I pinned it on the screen. If you have a chance, or you're watching on YouTube, please check out Ricky's YouTube page and subscribe there. All of our live streams are there as well. Boxer1225 wants to know what SummerSlam is. This is basically the event flyer. Elkhart, Kansas. It will be May 3rd. YouTube true crime YouTubers will be. I haven't completely read the program, but I think it said something about fighting to the death in a cage match. I don't know, but there's gonna be it's gonna be like a true crime competition, scavenger hunt type thing. We're gonna try to get a bunch of true crime YouTubers out here to just sort of compete with each other, and the winner takes all. They get a belt and bragging rights for an entire year. We got some comments here. Rock Chalk said the Wichita girls are safe.
Good.
Let me see. Raven was saying thankful they're safe. Rock Chalk says that the scanner has at least 3 or 4 runaways a night. See, it's sad. Scott is watching from Emporia. D Fur is here. She is not lasting long. She's drowsy. Yeah, so here we go. We got a bunch of cases left here to 40 cover. We do have his daughter in the house tonight watching with us. Shout out to her. Ricky's going to tell you all about Jonathan Jensen.
All right. Yep, he is missing from Kerwin, Kansas since June 14, 2023. He was 52 when he went missing. He's now 54, 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. He did leave without his vehicle, his cell phone, and his wallet. And I do believe Jessica told us last week, and I have to get it on the flyer still, that he does have mental health issues and does have episodes. Again, he was 52 when he went missing. He's now 54, 5'11", weighs 190 pounds, brown hair and hazel eyes. If If you have any information regarding Jonathan's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Phillips County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-543-6885 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Jonathan located and back home to where he needs to be.
Do you know if, because you had said that in the flyer here, it says that he has some bouts, with his mental stuff. Do you know if he's ever like taken off before in the past, or?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Jessica, could you answer that one for us? Has he been prone to take off before, or
this is 100%
the first time?
Based on looking at him, his photos, and I am assuming he just looks like somebody that probably knows how to take, like I watch a lot of like YouTube channels of just regular dudes going out and living in the woods for a few days, and just he just looks like somebody who would be able to take care of himself. Like he would.
She said not that I know. She says not that I know of. So this must be a first.
Okay, I mean, because I was just curious, maybe in the past, if he just took off for a few weeks or months, and did his own thing. Like he just looks like somebody who could very well take care of himself. Like if he was put up against it, just looking at his pictures, he looks like he would probably be okay. He'd be okay with taking care of himself if he needed to.
Right. Hopefully we can get him found and back home to where he needs to be. I mean, it's been about 2.5 years, so. Or a year and a half. Wow.
Yeah. So obviously it's been a while, so it definitely needs to happen. Producer Kent Williams backstage hanging out. It feels good. He hears SummerSlam and wrestling belt. His ears perk up.
Okay. I was wondering what that was.
Any news from the camp from Haley Davis? Any updates at all?
Nothing at all. I'm going to cover another one later from Salina that I had an interesting comment on in regards to our local law enforcement. But yeah, Jessica says he definitely knows how to take care of himself, but there's a lot of sketchy things going on. Plus, he didn't show up to my grandma's funeral, his mom. So yeah, that's definitely not good.
I mean, he's been gone long enough that it's obviously we need to be worried. But just looking at him, he looks like a lot of the YouTubers I watched. It like you could just see him being like, "Here's how you survive in a blizzard with no tent." Like he just looks like he probably knows how to take care of himself. But yeah, it's been a long time that obviously we need to be worried.
Yeah. I wished I had more to report from Haley Davis's case, but I don't. I haven't spoken with her brother for a while. I need to touch base with him and see if he's heard anything new. But yeah, Haley, she's missing from here in Salina since July 21st, 2023. She was 19 when she went missing. She's now 20. 5'6" to 5'7", weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. She did leave Salina with a male acquaintance to go to Wichita, Kansas. She was last active on her social media and last heard from on July 21st. Again, at the time of her disappearance, Haley was 19 years old. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7" inches tall and weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Again, her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Haley's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477 or text SA TIPS to CRIMES, which is 274-637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a tip that way, or call Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181 or 316-268-4407 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get her located and back home to her young son and her brother and her aunt and all of her other family and friends. Again, here's another one, coming up on a year and a half, and got to get her found and back home.
Hey, you have a ton of new viewers tonight, Ricky. Do you want to take just like a minute or two and just sort of explain what Kansas Missing and Unsolved is and how it started and how we got here?
Yeah. Initially, I started getting involved in missing persons. It was probably 2011. I was just new to Facebook. I was actually a MySpace guy and was reluctant to take the plunge to Facebook, but I finally gave in and did it in 2011. And I started sharing missing persons flyers on my news feed. And the more I shared those, the more were shared to me. And eventually I was approached by the gal that ran Missing Children's albums. Her name is Kim Coleman. And she asked me if I would like to help her with her stuff and asked me if I'd like to make flyers. And I said, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. I've never done that. So she walked me through how to do that. And I started doing flyers for her and did that for a short time. And then I had another lady approach me and asked me if I'd help do flyers on her or in her organization, which was PPP Recovery. So I was doing flyers for both. And during the course of that time, I started researching Kansas cases and Kansas missing persons and unsolved homicides, things of that nature. And really didn't find anything for Kansas specifically, except for what I could find on Charlie Project, what I could find on NamUs, the Doe Network. They had small little sections about Kansas, but nothing that was just devoted to Kansas. So, I did a lot of thinking about it and a lot of praying about it. My brother happened to mention he was thinking about doing something along these lines for our hometown. And I thought, well, why stop there? Let's do, why not do the whole state? So I launched Kansas Missing and Unsolved April 28th of 2012. And here we are almost 13 years later, and Derek and I started doing the podcast probably, 5-6 years ago?
2000, like right around COVID.
Okay. Right around 2020 or right before. And so we've been doing that for some time now, and just trying to bring awareness to all these missing persons, unsolved homicides, unidentified remains, things of that nature, suspicious deaths. Just trying to get the bring awareness to it, and like top of the show talked about the human trafficking awareness month this month, and things about like that. But just really wanting to make a difference and try to help these folks out by letting them know there's people out here that care, that want to help without expecting or wanting anything in return, just to help, and that's what I've prided myself on for the last almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years in April. So, yeah.
And that's, I met Ricky because I across his page, I asked him to be on my podcast. We showed some of his flyers on it, and it really was popular. So we started doing the podcast. I can say that, I know for a fact that I've seen Ricky need sometimes, Ricky does this tirelessly. He works his full-time job. He takes care of his 2 daughters. And he works on Kansas Missing Unsolved all the time. I know he doesn't get paid for it. And in fact, it bothers me sometimes because of how many outlets just use his flyers because he's been doing it for 13 years, which obviously Ricky would never, it's great that we love the flyers, but it's just like, it is a labor of love for this guy, and it's one of the reasons I spend a week with him, an hour with him every week, and try to help him with his show. And we just appreciate everybody watching, and please follow the Facebook page. That's mainly where you're going to find like the most activity, but he is on Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube, as you saw. This is she's asking about the skeletal bones, and we actually do have an answer for you this week, Jessica.
Oh, we do?
Oh, I thought she was talking about Kenny.
No. She's talking about whether or not any of them have been identified as her dad. But no, not that I've heard of. I haven't heard any news on it or seen anything in the news about it. I've been keeping an eye, but nothing. So I don't know if they're having a hard time getting him identified or what. It's what they did with Kenny. They had a really hard time, but they finally got him identified. But yeah, that was the ones that were found West Magnolia, almost to Centennial by the railroad tracks, and I was told they found partial skull and one other bone, and then of course the dilapidated tent. But yeah, it took them a while to get them identified, but they did.
Rock says she's taking the belt. It's just not happening. Tell us about Jordan Johnson.
Right. I think that might be one I forgot to pull, but that's okay. I can pull it real quick. I'm having one of those days. It's been a busy day. My daughter's been chauffeuring me around while my van's in the shop and everything else. And
September doesn't seem that long ago, but it was really that's when I started my job over in Hugoton with those 5 clients I picked up. That was in September. It doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah. Okay. Here's Jordan Johnson. Missing from Kansas City, Kansas at September 20th, 2024. He's 22, 5'8" to 5'9", 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. He does have ties to the following places: Argentine, Emporia, and Pittsburgh, Kansas. And on occasion would travel to Sunrise Beach, Missouri, which is Lake of the Ozarks. His cell phone activity stopped at the end of September. And he's 22. He's 5'8" to 5'9", weighs 180 pounds, brown hair and green eyes. Well, I got brown and green. I'm gonna have to figure out why I have that discrepancy. If you have any information regarding Jordan's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department at 913-596-3000. With the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't help get Jordan located and back to where he needs to be. See, that's the kind of stuff that I run into when I'm doing flyers, is when I get information from different sources. I'll get discrepancies in height and weight and hair color, eye color, all kinds of stuff.
Well, I mean, it's hard, man. Rock Chalk is she's got an army of followers, so if she tells you she's going to help your YouTube channel, you're probably about to see. I think she was the main reason I went from like 120 subscribers to over 500, over 600. If you think about it, like even your own daughter, if you were just asked on the spot, like, how tall is she? Like, you might not, you see her every day, but you might not know exactly, like it's really hard to say exactly like the measurements of somebody you care about. Right. Like, I think they're like 5. I don't know how. I think my wife is 5'10" because she's told me, but I wouldn't know that if she had never told me. I stand next to her all the time. Yeah,
I tell you, you're right though. I mean, especially when I do kids that are foster kids, I've been told from people within that community that it's hard to get an accurate read on height and weight and stuff like that, because sometimes these kids don't stay in placement long enough to get that stuff documented, so they just have to guess, which is kind of not good. But yeah. It happens.
Really, I mean, the picture does help. Like, the picture is going to be the main thing, but it is good to get like a decent, because there's been some flyers you made where there's been a pretty big discrepancy, and you're just like, I heard both. Like I heard the guy was 5'7" and 6'7". So like there's a big discrepancy. So
I mean, that's why you'll see things like on Jordan Johnson's flyer where his height says 5'8" to 5'9", because at one source say 5'8", one source say 5'9". So yeah, and so I just use both. That way, one or the other, hopefully, will be right.
This is another case. We cover this pretty much every week. This one really hits Ricky. And this is one that we feature a Crime Stoppers number. Crime Stoppers is an amazing thing. You can report crimes without having to say your name. The only issue I have with it is it seems like every county has their own separate number. So if you're going to call Crime Stoppers, just kind of go to Google and put in like as much information about the specific area you're looking in, and you will find a Crime Stoppers number, and you can report a crime anonymously. Go ahead and tell us about Jamie.
Yeah, this is one that really touches me, and it's just because of the circumstances involved. I mean, she was 13 years old. She ran away from her foster home in Athena, Kansas on June 9th, 2012. Prior to her name is Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez. Prior to her disappearance, Jamie had recently been prosecuted in a juvenile court for drug possession. She was due in court for her sentencing shortly after her disappearance. She never showed up and was never seen by her foster family again. There was unfortunately very little media coverage on Jamie's disappearance, likely due to her runaway status, which that shouldn't matter. One way or the other, should still be get them in the media one way or the other. But 3 years later, during the early morning hours of May 30th, 2015, a Kansas City resident called the police to report a shootout in the 2500 block of Ridge Avenue. According to the witness, 2 vehicles fired shots at each other, and a female passenger in one of the vehicles was killed as a result. The female passenger's body was dumped on the side of the road, and the vehicles drove off before the police arrived. 2 days later, on June 1st, 2015, authorities announced that the slain female was identified as Jamie. The identity of Jamie's killer remains unknown, as does the identity of the driver of the car that she was riding in when she was shot. Additionally, Jamie's whereabouts from June 2012 to May 2015 still remain a mystery. Although she was ultimately found in Kansas City, it's unknown where she stayed or how she survived during those 3 years. Investigators said they received a tip that Jamie was in Kansas City back in 2013, but when they followed said lead, they were unable to find her. At the time, police were searching for a late 1990s or early 2000s white Ford F-150 with flare sides, tinted windows, 20-inch chrome rims, and a touchscreen device in the cab. The truck was located June 2nd, 2015, unoccupied, and was taken and processed for evidence. If you have any information regarding Jamie's murder, please call the Athena, Kansas Police Department at 785-989-4521 or call the TIPS hotline anonymously at 816-474-8477, or you can call KBI at 1-800-572-7463. or on that QR code there at the bottom. It says "Say It Here." You can scan that. It'll take you to the KC Crime Stoppers website, and you can follow the link there and send your tip to them through that link as well. So there's a lot of options there. So if you have any information on it, please call it in. Please.
Ricky, I had 2 comments I wanted to respond to. Rock Shock says, seems like so many runaways. And then she said, Ellie considers runaways different. I don't agree. Ellie is overwhelmed. What are your thoughts? What are your personal thoughts? I've never really asked you. What are your personal thoughts? Because I do think the cops are trying as hard as they can, but they're also trying to solve. Like, do you feel like runaways need their own like division, maybe? Or
well, like Wichita, they have the Exploited Missing Children's Unit on their police department, which devotes their time to missing and runaway kids. And I think every law enforcement needs that, to be real honest with you. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think here. I mean, yeah, runaways, even though I've talked about this before in the past, that I think runaway puts a stigma on a kid that it's, it's a bad kid, discipline problems, whatever, but it's not always the case. I've said this before, a lot of these kids, there's a majority of them that wind up in foster care, not by their actions, but by the parents' actions as well. I mean, so yeah, I mean, and even though they are runaway, they still need to be found. There still need to be importance given to them, to get them found, and there are some that I have done flyers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, but it doesn't make them any less important just because they don't know how to stay put, still got to get them found, get them back to a safe place. I know there's probably more, but I know for a fact that at one point, since I've been doing this, that at least 7 of the young females that I had done flyers for when they were found were being actively trafficked. And it's been a while since I've heard anything like that, probably several years, but I do know that at least 7 that I did flyers for were actively being trafficked, and most of them were in the Wichita area. So, I mean, it's a real thing. I mean, even though they're runaways, I mean, they're prime targets for traffickers. They really are. So it's, need to get them found and get them back to where they need to be.
And another thing too is a lot of times, I don't know for a fact, but like I'll ask Ricky off air, like, are some of these kids like in the foster system? And he'll know from talking to detectives that some of them are. And I've harped on it a bunch. Like, I think if you have natural born children and you live together when you're an adult and they're a teenager, there's a chance that they're going to get so mad they're going to take off. So if you have like where it's two human beings trying to get to know each other and they're not natural, they don't have a blood connection, it's probably even tougher. So like just the whole parenting a teenage person is, I'm not there yet. My kid's 10. I'm sure it's going to be awful, but like parenting a teenager is, people have talked about for forever how that's a tough situation. So I think especially when you have kids that might be in and out of different houses because of the foster care system, which thank God they have a roof over their head, it's probably very hard to get comfortable. So I think you see a lot of kids in that situation maybe take off multiple times, which I understand. Currently in the state of Kansas, 175 juveniles missing, 384 adults.
Oof, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I was reading some of the comments over here. Defer says that those kids are usually who are human trafficked, which is true. They are high risk. Micah says life is too short for the hate. Forgiveness is key in life. Work through the differences and move forward. The world needs more love and light and unity. I definitely agree with that, Micah. I do. I really do. And Queenie says everyone we can help Ricky by Venmoing him money for the cost of all of his work. I do have a Venmo. I just can't think of what it is off the top of my brain right now.
Well, you have a page. It's patreon.com/KMU Live.
Yeah. Patreon.com/KMU Live. That's the Patreon that you can donate to as well. But I'd have to see what my Venmo is because I can't remember. I don't use it that much, as you can tell. And Rock Shock is also saying not enough manpower, but new president must go back to work, not trying to be political. SRS has 70 positions open. Holy mackerel, I didn't know that. And Queenie said she just Venmoed me. I have the app on my phone, but I can't remember what it's under as far as name goes. So if you can see what the name is that it's under, Queenie, you can post it in the comments. That'll help me out greatly. Wow,
man. Let me see.
Remember growing up, it used to be fine to disagree with somebody and not be a big deal. You just agreed to disagree and you moved on. It wasn't a big thing. Yeah. But nowadays you try to disagree with somebody and Man, you could open up a can of whoop by doing that.
Yeah, you can
Unfortunately,
really screw yourself over for sure.
And apparently, my Venmo is under my name.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up. Is this a new flyer, Ava? I don't think I've seen this one.
Yeah. I just did it a few days ago, and I had somebody. It's interesting. I had somebody commenting, telling me that she wasn't missing, that she was safe, and I said, well, if that's the case, she needs to call the police department, and either she needs to go to the police department or call them and have them come to her so they can verify she's safe and okay, so they can close the case. And the person said, well, yeah, she'll have to call because she's living in the state. And I said, yes, she will. And then I followed that up with a, they prefer to do it in person because anybody can make a phone call. And that was, I think, was the last comment that I made. But then not long after that, all those comments disappeared. So I was like, I don't know exactly what happened there. But she is still listed as missing on KBI. And I verified that right before the show. But this is Ava Luttrell, missing from Overland Park, Kansas since July 2nd, 2024. So about 7 months. She was 25 when she's missing. She's now 26. She's 5'9", 110 pounds, blonde hair, green eyes. She does not have a known residence and frequents the Overland Park and Kansas City metro areas. Again, she was 25 when she was missing. She's now 26. She's 5'9", weighs 110 pounds, has blonde hair and green eyes. If you have any information regarding Ava's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Overland Park, Kansas Police Department at 913-344-8734 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't get Ava located and make sure she's okay and get her back to where she needs to be.
When they tell you that she does not have a known residence, is that like a nice way of saying she's unhoused right now? Like maybe couch surfing with friends? That's what she was known to be doing, or
that was my assumption. I don't know for sure, but I would. That's kind of how it sounds to me.
Hey, when I was 25, I don't think I had a known address. I just stayed with people. You know, I bounced around.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I guess I was just kind of curious if that's what it meant. Like she just didn't have like an apartment in her name or anything. She was kind of staying with people.
Right. That's how I would take it. She either, you know, stays with friends and family or you know, except for turn the R and the E around, Queenie. Or get the other R out of there. Sorry.
We'll
get that TRE.
I just typed in your name. You can look at your name tag up there on Venmo, and there's a circle and it says KMU in it. It's a picture. It's pretty. I found it right quick. Let me see. Yeah. Make amends and move forward. Just put a slash. Yeah, just put a slash in the middle of Ricky's name. Life's too short. I think you read most of these.
Yeah. Possibly. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know what's going on in somebody's life. So, I mean, we just have to go with what we're given and hope and pray for the best.
Yeah. All right. We have Sarah Marie Hart, petite.
Yeah. And this is one I was actually able to add more photos to, which I was glad to be able to do.
$1,000 reward.
Yeah. Sarah Marie Hart Pettit, missing from Wichita, Kansas on September 26, 2020. 36 when she was missing. She's now 40, 5'6", weighs between 130 and 140 pounds, brown hair, green or hazel eyes. She boarded a bus in Denver in July 2020 and traveled to live with her boyfriend in Wichita. She made it to Wichita and was last seen near 48th Street North and Ridge Road around September 26, 2020. Family members spoke with Sarah over the phone on October 4th, 2020. Supposedly she was heading back to Denver, but nobody has seen or heard from her since. Again, she was 36 when she went missing. She's now 40, 5'6", weighs between 130 and 140 pounds, has short brown hair and green or hazel eyes. She may be wearing eyeglasses. She has a tattoo on the right side of her neck and a 420 tattoo on her left hand. If you have any information regarding Sarah's disappearance, so you know her whereabouts, please call the Sedgwick County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 316-660-3900 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And there's $1,000 reward for any information leading to Sarah's safe return. And also down there, got the Crime Stoppers banner there. We can go to Wichita Sedgwick County CrimeStoppers.com. They have a tip link on there that you could go to and submit your tip that way. And see if we can help get Sarah located and back to where she needs to be and make sure she's okay.
Wichita seems to be pretty policed. Like you're saying, they have that unit for the runaways and stuff. Seems like Wichita's kind of got their ducks in a row out there, man.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let me see. We have Beverly Logan. Now, this is a case from Salina, 2008. Pretty crazy stuff here, and this has an $11,000 reward.
Yeah, and I don't live too awful far from where that occurred. Actually, it's not too far from where I'm at. And actually, when I go pay one of my bills, I tend to drive right by that house. So anyway, this is Beverly Logan, January 21st, 2008, here in town. Police responded to 1200 East Iron to check the welfare of the only occupant of the residence, Beverly Logan. Officers found the front door ajar and Miss Logan deceased in the kitchen. It was apparent to the investigating officers she was the victim of a brutal attack. The homicide occurred around noon on a Monday next door to a heavily patronized convenience store on a major arterial street. Basically, it was called Green Lantern back then. It's now known as Casey's now. She lived on Iron Avenue, which is a fairly busy avenue. It's East Iron. Her murder has been extensively investigated by the Salina, Kansas Police Department, and the investigation is ongoing. There have been no viable suspects developed. If you have any information regarding Beverly's death, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department, 785-826-7210, or call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477, or text SA TIPS to crimes, which is 274-637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit your tip. You may receive a cash reward of up to $1,000, and you're not required to give your name, but that's part of the $11,000 reward that's also being offered for information leading to an arrest and conviction in Beverly's murder as well. So let's see if we can't do what we can do to help bring somebody to justice for doing this to Beverly. Some of the other things I had read early on was that police had theorized that she had some pretty collectible dolls, and they thought, well, maybe that was the motive, but then they dismissed that because they decided that maybe she had given those, or she had most likely given those away before her murder. See, there was another theory that I'd read about besides the dolls, but I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, it was pretty brutal. So we'll see what we can do to help get her murder solved. Interesting.
Double T's here, but I forgot Sheila said his name's T-Bird.
Yeah. Interesting. There's people living there in that house already, and I thought, well, I realize that it's been since 2008, but
no, when I lived in Phoenix, I had you make a flyer for an elderly couple that was murdered in Phoenix like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's because I was just doing some research, and like a minute walk from my front door where I lived in Phoenix in like 2011 or 12, they were murdered. And yeah, people were just living there. We actually, I don't think you have to disclose if a crime happened in your house. I think that's on the new buyer to Google that, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I know the car wash stalls, the way they sit in conjunction to the actual convenience store, those car wash stalls will actually block somebody's view to seeing Beverly's house from there. But even people driving up and down by the house should have seen something. I would have thought somebody running from the house, or I know one time they had put out a composite of was it a light-skinned African-American male with dreadlocks, and said they was standing out on the corner in front of the house around the time she was murdered, and then they came back later and for whatever reason said, nope, that's not a person of interest anymore. So they never gave an explanation. They just said there was no longer a person of interest.
The card that's down there in the bottom right, you were a really big help for the Kansas edition of the cards for the inmates. How long ago was that? And is there any talk of doing another project? It feels like that was a while ago that you helped with that.
Yeah, I think we started covering. I started making the flyers for the cards, and we started covering them in 2023. I think it was when we finished up in early 2024. And I haven't heard any word on the second edition yet. I'm hoping they do one. They haven't contacted me if they're doing one or not, but I hope they do if they decide to, because I would love to be involved again in it again.
And the idea is that you have inmates playing cards, and on the backs of them, they can see these cases, and maybe they will talk. Yeah,
that's the theory, and it's worked for other states that have done the same thing. That they've distributed these in the prisons and the jails within the state, and like I said, some states have done this with some moderate success. Have had people come forward and say, hey, I got this information on this case, and they were able to solve it. So Kansas is hoping for the same kind of results, and hopefully they'll get them.
Yeah. Quincy Moret. Seems like a new one.
Yeah, this is a newer one. I just did this one recently. Missing from Topeka, Kansas since December 20th, 2024. She's 18, 5'5", 150 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. She does have a circular barbell in her nose and a lower lip piercing. It's kind of, I mean, you can see him in the picture, but it's a little bit difficult. I don't know what's going on with that whole picture, but again, she's 18, 5'5", 150 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Quincy's disappearance, you know of her whereabouts, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9200 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get her located and back to where she needs to be.
Yeah, that's a new one. I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, Rachel Pratt. Last week, I had mentioned, I think I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago, I was like, we need to cover Rachel Pratt because I thought I had saw a picture. Did you add that far right, or is that kind of old?
The far left or the far right?
Far right.
The age progression, you mean?
Yeah.
That's been on there for a while. The one I just added was the black and white on the far left.
Okay, because I had
just
saw
did
a
add that
post,
one.
and they had said, you know, this is a big famous Garden City case that I've talked to Garden City police about it, like a retired police, and they're, you know, you always want to think that there's like a conspiracy, and they all know. But my favorite quote from a police officer from Garden City that was retired for a while, and he worked there the whole time this girl was missing. He's like, you won't find a single police officer in this town that doesn't want to find Rachel Pratt. He's like, that would be the best career because it's the famous case of Garden City, but it just happened the day after last week's show was the anniversary, so we were going to go ahead and cover it this week. This is Rachel Pratt from the Garden City area, still not seen.
Yeah, the post I've been seeing, because I didn't realize until I updated the flyer that the anniversary was the 16th of this month, and I was like, oh wow, it's like 30-year anniversary this year. So yeah, but they were using basically all four in some of the posts. Some of them just the two left-hand pictures and the age progression. But yeah, Rachel Geraldine Pratt, missing from Garden City, Kansas, January 16th, 1995. 15 when she was missing. She'd now be 45. 5'7", weighs 125 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen watching a movie inside her family's residence in Garden City at approximately 1 o'clock in the morning on January 16th. She disappeared under suspicious circumstances and has never been heard from again. She left all of her clothing and personal belongings at her home except for her coat. 5 days after her disappearance, some girls claim to have seen her talking on a payphone with her 18-year-old boyfriend. They say she left the phone with her boyfriend after asking the girls for a ride and went into Dillon's grocery store. The sighting has not been confirmed, and her boyfriend denies having been with her after she vanished. Rachel was supposed to be a witness against her boyfriend, who was being prosecuted for unlawful sexual relations with her because when she disappeared before, but she did disappear before she could testify. The charges were dropped. They started dating when Rachel was 14, and her boyfriend was a senior. He was her first boyfriend. Rachel's mother found out she was pregnant after Rachel was arrested for attempting to shoplift a home pregnancy test from Walmart. She gave her statement to the police at that time. There is no evidence to indicate that Rachel has given birth. There's also no record of her ever receiving a driver's license, a copy of her birth certificate, or a social security card. She may have remained in the Garden City area after her disappearance. There have been no sightings of her in many years, but authorities remain hopeful that she is still alive. Rachel has 7 siblings. Her mother still lives at the same address and has kept the same number. If you have any information regarding Rachel's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Garden City Police Department at 620-276-1300, or you can call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 620-275-7807, or text your tip to Garden City Police. Text GC Tip and your tip to Tip 411, which is 847-411, and see if we can't help get Rachel found and located and back to where she needs to be. And as part of the update on this flyer, I did add the Crime Stoppers number, the text your tip to Garden City Police, all that information. I just added that as part of the post that had just come out on the 30th anniversary. So that's all new on there.
D first says she's heard of Rachel because she grew up 35 miles from Garden City. I was going to ask everybody watching, what would you say is the most famous case from your area? Ricky, when you think of Salina, what do you think is the most infamous case from Salina area?
No, if I had to name one right off the top of my head, it'd be Catherine Adam.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be the first one I think of. I mean, that was one of the cases that really got me paying attention to true crime, was her case. And D first says, I have heard of her. She's my age, grew up only 35 miles from GC, Garden City. See, now you got me calling it GC.
GC. I was saying in my private chat, or my chat over here, that I was gonna try to figure out a way to hang my SummerSlam belt in my window, but Roxanne, I just need like sticky things because it's a paper belt.
Yeah.
She's talking trash, Rick, and I don't like it.
Yeah. And Tammy Cook said Kenny was the first one she could think of, and her sister Sheila said Kenny, glad he was identified. And I am too. I'm glad that there's at least partial resolution. Now we just got to figure out, did he die from exposure in the elements, or was it something else?
Yeah.
Medical episode, which we probably will never be able to find out because they only found a partial skull and one other bone. So probably never know the cause of death in that one, unfortunately.
We got 3 more cold cases. We got a couple runaway flyers, endangered runaway flyers for you, and then we have out of
states
as well. Yeah,
not very many because I took some out.
Go ahead and talk about Ashley Caldwell.
Yeah, this is one she's been missing for a while. Ashley Caldwell missing from Wichita since May 28th, 2017. So it's been a little while. She was 28 when she was missing. She's 35 now, 5'2", 130 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. She was last known to be with an adult male. Again, she was 28 when she went missing. She's now 35, 5'2", weighs 130 pounds, has brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Ashley's disappearance, or you know her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4111 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Ashley located and back to where she needs to be. Yeah, the Carr brothers down there in Wichita. Yeah.
And they're from Dodge City. A couple of friends of mine knew them from the Dodge City area before they went to Wichita and did that.
Mm-hmm. This is Texas Panhandle girl. She said the most famous case from her area would be Dorian Thomas, went missing in 1998 at 9 years old. There's been no resolution to this day. He was never found and no one was ever caught.
You should make a flyer for him.
I will have to. Let me write that name down. Dorian Thomas. I'll do some research on that after the show. See what I can find. See if Charlie Project's got something or Namus. Oop. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. 9 years old.
T-Bird. Brothers, yeah.
T-Bird. I remember my dad used to write that on my sack lunches when we'd do field trips at school. He'd write T-Bird on my lunch. It's like, gee, thanks, Dad. If I wasn't getting ridiculed bad enough for the last name, I'd do it for me.
I can tell Siri to I can tell my phone to call you if I'm driving. So I tried to call you today, but it went to voicemail. But it was like calling Ricky Tebrugge, and I was like, that's not it.
Oh man. All right. And this one's Lance Nolan Marin, missing from Olathe, Kansas since June 24th, 2023. So it's been a little while. He was 32 and missing. He's now 34, 5'9", 140 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. He's last seen on foot in Kansas City, Missouri. He has ties to Jackson County, Missouri, Whitley County, Indiana, Grand Forks County, North Dakota, Blue Earth County, Minnesota, and Hennepin County, Minnesota. Again, he was 32 when he went missing. He's now 34, 5'9", weighs 140 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Has several tattoos, including a tattoo of trees on his neck, a feather on his left wrist, and an arrow on his right wrist, and a crown with Ryan on his right arm. And you can see him pictured below there. Let's see here. The case was initially reported to the Olathe, Kansas Police Department. Remains under investigation. If you have any information regarding Lance's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Olathe, Kansas Police Department at 913-971-6363 or the TIPS hotline at 816-474-8477 or KBI at 785-296-4017. Let's see if we can help get Lance located and back to where he needs to be. Interesting tats.
I wish I knew your show when Arturo went missing. The day of his death accidental, but we don't know if we believe that. Arturo Is that the one that I did? Did I do a case on that? Did I do a deep dive on that? That sounds familiar.
That does sound familiar.
Rock Chalk said her friend's one of the teachers who passed the Carr brothers. So the Carr, I was saying in my chat, like the Carr brothers, like yeah, there was one survivor. The Carr brothers is one of those. I was listening to a true crime podcast, and usually, like, I can listen to it, it's no big deal, but I had to turn that one off. It was just what those dudes did was just horrible. Yeah, so I did a deep dive on this case, and I did a horrible job. I'm sorry, Jay De La Cruz. It was one of my first. It was a couple years ago. I think I'm going to redo it, but I messed up a few of the things that I said, but very interesting case. I'll send you over that audio, Ricky. It's
okay.
You could even do maybe if I think it would be more of a suspicious death. I don't know exactly how it's left off now because it's been a while, but you could definitely do a flyer for that, and just at least if there's information out there, somebody could come forward. Let me see. Weirdos not chilling. The hate has to stop. 100%. There is no hate. There is no hate on these channels except for at SummerSlam. All no rules at SummerSlam. All right, last cold case, and we'll get into some endangered runaway cards here in the state of Kansas. Tell us about Anthony Shane Skinner. January. It looks like a brand new case.
It is actually. It's not really a cold case yet, but he went missing from Salina, Kansas on January 13th, 2025 at 4:40 in the morning. Took a bus from Salina, Kansas to New York on Monday, January 13th, and was supposed to get there on Wednesday, January 15th to see his kids. His kids have not seen him, and nobody has heard from him since January 20th when he missed his family to say goodbye, and they wanted to harm himself. And he's 50 years old, he's 5'10", weighs 270 pounds, has brown graying hair and greener hazel eyes. He has a tattoo of the name Missy down his left forearm, and a tattoo of a rose with tribal and Missy on his left bicep, and a tattoo of the name April on his left chest, and a tattoo of two hearts with the names Bonnie and May Lynn in them. Anthony was also last known to be wearing a bright green hoodie, blue jeans, and Hoka shoes. He was also wearing a black and camouflage wedding band. If you have any information regarding Anthony's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Anthony located and back to where he needs to be. And this is the one that had the comment on it that wasn't talking very favorably about the Salina Police Department. So I won't get into the comment, but I mean, you can go to his flyer on the page and see the comment because I haven't deleted it. But it's not bad, but it's just kind of basically saying that they really don't take these kinds of cases very seriously and that kind of thing. So, which I don't know. I respect law enforcement. I know they have a hard job and they have a lot on their plates and stuff. And from what I've been hearing, we're still short-staffed at our police department, but there still needs to be importance put on these cases. I mean, they still need to be found, whether they're an adult, whether they're a juvenile, whatever. They still need to be found. And they need to be, and the families needed to be treated like they're important, like their feelings matter. They have a missing loved one. They're already under enough stress and under enough anxiety from just having that loved one being missing. So they, when they contact law enforcement, they need that empathy. They need that compassion. They need, that understanding to say, from law enforcement, say, hey, we don't know exactly what you're going through, but we understand you're stressed and we'll do what we can to help you. Don't be, short about it or anything like that. Just do your best to be there for them. I mean, you mean your uniforms, your cars and everything else that protect and serve. Well, that's part of serving. So, I mean, do it, I'm not trying to bash law enforcement. Like I support the blue, very strongly. But I just think there just needs to be some improvements made here and there.
Yeah. All right. We got about 7 flyers left. We're going to get out of here. We're going to go to another segment. You're watching Kansas Missing and Unsolved Live. We'll be right back after this.
Part 2. Endangered Runaways. Young Lives at Risk. Stories that demand attention and a race against time. Together we can make a difference.
Okay, this is one that I just updated today. I'll cover his flyer and then we'll get into some stuff here. I gotta find the darn thing. There it is. Peter Sawyer, missing from Wichita, Kansas since January 7th, 2025. He's 15 years old, 5'8" to 5'11", weighs 120 to 125 pounds, blonde hair and blue eyes, maybe using the name Armani Tatum. Again, he's 15, 5'8", to 5'11", weighs between 120 and 125 pounds, has blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, it is believed that he shaved his head to modify his appearance. And I was sent the photo on the far right there, as it's an AI modified photo to show what he would look like with his head shaved. And I was asked if I could add that to kind of give an idea what he might look like since he's done that. If you have any information regarding Peter's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9254 or 316-660-9456 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get Peter located and back to where he needs to be. It's amazing what they can do with AI. It's crazy. She sent me that, and it's the same photo as the far left, only they AI'd it to take the hair off. And I'm just like, what? That's crazy. Yeah, did you mute yourself? Because I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to. I guess I was blowing my nose earlier. Yeah, I was gonna have you go ahead and tell us about Caden, and we probably have some comments too. We're talking about the Carr brothers case over here in the in my chat. That was just a wild event. Yeah. Thank you to Ricky. Like I said, like I've always I've done some investigative stuff about some unsolved crimes in my hometown, but Ricky's the one who's got me in the Ricky's the one who got me into knowing anything about missing persons and stuff.
Right.
Yep. That's true. That's the people. These people will have to pay for their crimes and everything. Tell us about Caden real quick.
All right. Caden Kugel's missing from Andover, Kansas since December 25th, 2024. 16 when he was missing. He's now 17. He's 5'8" to 5'9", 140 to 160 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. Initially, when he went missing, he went missing with two other young ladies from the same area, but they have both been since found, but he has not. Again, he was 16 when he went missing. He's now 17. He's 5'8" to 5'9", weighs between 140 and 160 pounds, has brown hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Caden's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Andover, Kansas Police Department at 316-733-5177 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Caden located and back to where he needs to be. Yeah, I think I watched a video on YouTube regarding the Carr brothers here not too long ago.
Just the stuff they made. It's just like, why? What happened to you? What happened to you that made you want to do that?
Yeah.
It's just gross, man.
Yeah. They tried to claim it was because they were abused and everything growing up and this, that, and the other. And yeah. And this is Abigail Krieger, goes by Ace Pelays. I guess that's how you would say that. Missing from Kansas City, Kansas since January 18th of this year. She's 17, 5'4", 145 pounds, red or auburn hair and brown eyes. Ace has mental health and medical conditions, and they are without their daily medications. I guess she identifies as they, them, their, I guess. Ace is 17 years old, 5'4", 145 pounds. They have red or auburn hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Abigail Ace's disappearance or you know of their whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department at 913-596-3000 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can get Ace located and back to where they need to be.
Ace, if you're out there and you hear this, you're 17, you'll be 18 soon. Hang in there. Hang in there. Yeah. Soon you'll be able to do things your own way. Get a job, take care of yourself, do whatever Ace wants to do and what makes Ace happy. But just do it the right way, do it the smart way. Always have Aces back at the end of the day. Make sure the Ace is taken care of. So if you see, then try to go somewhere, call, like we always say, call like the police. If you don't want the police, call an adult figure you like, maybe a teacher or maybe somebody from a church or something, an adult that you trust and you know is going to do the right thing. And again, another thing that we haven't said in a while, if you're somebody out there watching this show and you have one of these kiddos and you're letting them stay at your house thinking you're helping them out, in reality, you are not, and that's actually a pretty big crime to harbor a runaway. And we've gone over kind of what the consequences are for that in the past. Maybe we'll go over that again next week, but you don't want to harbor a runaway. You don't want that charge on you. You know, that's not good.
So I think one of my most favorite shows that we ever did was the one where we were getting ready to cover the kid, and all of a sudden he starts commenting on the show, and you start talking to him along the lines of what you were just saying to Ace, and he was starting to basically give us a play-by-play. He eventually said he called the police, and the police were there, and he was in the police car, and I punched it up on KBI, and he had been removed, and
I have that video.
Yeah,
I have that video on a hard drive somewhere. I like edited the whole show down to like a 30-minute thing. But yeah,
that's cool.
We were covering him. He's like, I'm here. And then I talked to him, like tried to talk to him because he's younger. And eventually, he called the police, had him come get him. He went home, and Ricky checked it to make sure while we were on the air, and he was removed from the runaway list.
Yep. Removed from KBI. And then I got a hold of my source that asked me to do the flyer, and they verified for me that he had been found, and was like, wow, I had a kid turn himself in live on the show. That was pretty cool.
We've been doing it for 5 years, and we got one kid to turn himself. We'll keep doing it for another 100 if we can get one more, you know?
I keep hoping we'll have that happen again, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. It'd be cool if it does, but we'll see.
All right. We'll cover some out-of-state cases, and we're going to get out of here for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We got a little bit of time left. Share the show. Let people know you're here. Shout out in the chat. We'll pin your comment right back after this.
Part 3. Out-of-state cases. Beyond Kansas borders, stories of the lost and the unsolved remind us that every missing voice deserves to be heard.
Yeah, I noticed in the comments they're talking about the clutter case over there by Garden City. I remember that one too.
Yep.
You guys went in to rob the Clutter family thinking they had all this money in the house, and they didn't, and they wound up killing them all.
I wrote a song about that on the last album my band put out, just because I was pretty fascinated with the whole thing. I was kind of fascinated how, like, the Clutters became stars, but like they became celebrities. But who would want to be a celebrity? You know, like if that's what it takes to have everybody know your name. You know, 50 years from now, people are talking about it on YouTube. You know, who wants that kind of? You know, that's scary. So yeah, very famous case.
Yeah. And this is another unsolved homicide from down in Texas. This is from Cynthia Renee Gonzalez. On September 17, 1991, Cynthia Renee Gonzalez was reported missing to the Arlington, Texas Police Department. On September 22, 1991, Cynthia's body was discovered in a creek bed off County Road 313 in Johnson County, Texas. It was later determined that Cynthia died from multiple gunshot wounds. Cynthia was reportedly at her apartment with her boyfriend when her husband stopped by to deliver their daughter for a weekend visit. Sometime later, Cynthia left for an appointment without her customary bodyguard, and she was never seen again. Serial killer Kenneth Allen McDuff was looked at in connection with Cynthia's death. Jim Ford, longtime Arlington police officer and renowned homicide investigator, had looked at McDuff in connection with Cynthia's case for going on 18 years. He was never able to make a match or a mismatch. McDuff was believed to have abducted a victim from a car wash in Austin, Texas. Cynthia's car, a two-seat Pontiac Fiero, was seen parked at a car wash in Arlington the day she disappeared. There were similarities in the Austin case and Cynthia's case. He kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed his victim at a car wash in Austin. He dumped the bodies of several of his victims in rural areas, and he killed several of them by shooting them. Investigators could not place McDuff in the Arlington area and could not determine whether he was out on the streets at that time, but could not find him as being incarcerated at that time either. Other persons of interest have come up and have been cleared as well. McDuff has since been ruled out by DNA testing. If you have any information regarding Cynthia's death, please contact Detective Stafford at 817-459-5772. If you wish to remain anonymous and possibly receive a reward of up to $1,250, please call the Toronto County, Texas Crime Stoppers at 817-469-8477. I was going to clarify just a little tiny bit here where it talked about investigators could not place McDuff in Arlington area and could not determine whether he was out on the streets at the time, but could not find him as being incarcerated. That stems from during that time, Texas was, I guess, experiencing overcrowding in their prisons, and they were releasing inmates to try to alleviate that, and somehow McDuff got himself in that group of inmates that was released. So when they released him, he went on back to his killing spree until he was caught again and reincarcerated. So that's where that stems from. It was from him doing that. So I wanted to clarify that little part there, but I've watched a few videos on him, and I think I've read at least one book on him, and he's a pretty brutal guy. He really was.
Yeah. D first talking about the house and the Clutters. It's been remodeled and everything. And then I actually delivered a pizza there probably 10 years ago when I was living in Garden City. and the guy that was living there was a really nice guy. I think he was a little intoxicated. But as I handed him his pizza, he just kind of stared at me and he's like, "You want to look around, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I walked into the clutter house and I was trying. I didn't like it. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the clutter. It's those people are in heaven and all that stuff, so I think it's fine. But you definitely do feel it. But when I was in college in Garden City, like we would go to the clutter house in the middle of the night and we would just try to walk down the little driveway where all the trees were that they describe in the book and the movie and everything. And it was just so haunting, the trees that line it. But if you look here, local Kent Williams, who's over there in that area, those trees are gone now.
Oh, wow.
To me, when I think of In Cold Blood, which probably, you should probably think about the clutters and everything, but when I think about In Cold Blood, I think about that tree line, because Capote and the movies all did such a great job of describing how eerie it was walking down that little tiny driveway with all those trees to the left and right of you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Very creepy. Even if the clutter thing never happened, it's a creepy place. It's just, you're in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. It's just flat as far as the eye can see, but there's just a perfect line of trees on either side of this road. Very, very, very creepy for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, CD first debated about the tree line. I think that it might have had something to do with some of the ice storms that hit, maybe ruined some of those trees, and I don't think they were in the greatest shape anyway when they got torn down. But yeah, that was definitely like the focal point when I would go to the clutter house. I would check out those trees. We have another additional slide that'll kind of show you a little bit about the area of Mosca, Colorado, which is pretty interesting. This case always kind of pulls at my heartstrings because as somebody who is a mental health, I have mental health issues. I have days where I think about disappearing, and so when I hear that people don't have their meds and maybe they're not thinking correctly and they haven't been seen in a while, it always kind of hurts a little bit for me. But Ricky's going to tell you about Rochelle Hammond.
Yeah, Rochelle Elizabeth Hammond went missing from Mosca, Colorado on August 15, 2019. She was 30 when she went missing. She's now 35, 5'6", 120 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen walking away from a Mosca, Colorado home. She left all of her belongings behind, including her phone, her identification, her car, computer, tools, and pet dog. She'd only been living in the area for about 3 weeks prior to her disappearance. She previously lived in the Columbus, Ohio area. She may be living homeless. Although police can find little evidence in her disappearance, her mother believes that she did not leave of her own accord and she may have become a human trafficking victim. She does suffer from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and has been prescribed medication for her conditions, which she also left behind. Rochelle's nose is pierced. She has numerous tattoos, including the phrase "live like a lion" on her arm, on her upper chest, star behind her ear, a skull on the back of her wrist, stars on the inside of her forearm, a cat with a bong on her shoulder, and other tattoos. Some are pictured there at the bottom. She was last known to be wearing a black tank top, khaki shorts, black Nike shoes, and she had a silver circular barbell in her nose. If you have any information regarding Rochelle's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Alamosa County, Colorado Sheriff's Office at 719-589-6608 and see if we can help get Rochelle located and back to where she needs to be.
I'm over here looking at Wichita.gov. They have a cold case portion of their website. It says just Wichita alone has 200 open and unsolved homicides.
Yeah, my brother's been trying to go through that to see how many videos I can make out of that website that I haven't already done. So yeah.
That's a crazy, man. Well, I mean, Wichita's a really big, it's not really big for a Kansas, area, but 200 unsolved homicides, man.
Right.
And that's not crazy. All of them, because this is just a list that they've compiled of over 200 since the mid 70s. So this isn't counting anything pre 1975, basically.
Yeah. Too many. Yeah. Sheila's saying too many cold cases. Definitely. Way too many. Yep. Way too many.
And then this is Mosca, which is really weird for Colorado, but they have sand dunes there. Which is just
weird.
Yeah, I think that's weird too. To me, that seems more Southwest America, not so much Colorado. You see the mountains, but the Rockies behind it. It's just weird that there's sand dunes out in Colorado.
Yeah.
We got 4 flyers left, folks. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Thank you for we are here live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Kansas Michigan Unsolved Live. Ricky's going to tell you about Dana Jane Bruce, a case we cover every week pretty much.
Yeah. Man, this list of flyers I had to pull for this week was long. It was longer, but like I said, I pulled 3 of them right before the show started because they were located, and I'll update those when I get done here. Let's see. This Dana Jane Bruce, missing from Sedalia, Missouri since October 4th, 2008. 23 when she's been missing. She's now 39. She's 5'2", 98 pounds, brown hair, green or hazel eyes. Dana was last seen at her children's babysitter's home in Sedalia. She left the children there earlier that day so she could go out for the evening. She returned at midnight and gave the babysitter more money and asked her to watch the children for the remainder of the night. Dana was seen at Malone's Bar on Main Street with a young man driving a late model red Ford F-150 truck earlier on the night of her disappearance. She left with that man at 11:30 p.m. Police have identified the man that Dana was with on the night she had vanished. He traveled to Atlanta, Georgia after her disappearance, and police questioned him about Dana after he was arrested there on unrelated charges of marijuana possession and driving on a suspended license. Authorities have not named him publicly, but they are calling him a person of interest in her case. He told his questioners that he and Dana parted ways after they left the bar, and he never saw her again after that. She left all of her belongings behind, including her hairbrush and toothbrush. She does not have any credit cards, debit cards, checking account, cell phone, or a car. And she was 23 when she went missing. She would now be 39. She's 5'2", weighs 98 pounds, has brown hair that was colored brown at the roots and black at the ends with red highlights and green or hazel eyes. She was last known to be wearing a black shirt with the word Rebel and silver lettering on the front and blue jeans. She has a tattoo of a teddy bear with wings and the name Dylan on her upper left arm. She is blind in her left eye. She has a 2-inch scar along her lower spine and a staple scar on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced 1 time each. If you have any information regarding Dana's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Sedalia, Missouri Police Department at 660-827-7823 or 660-826-8100, or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178, or toll free at 866-362-6422. Or you can call Private Investigator Leslie at 910-427-0070. And let's see what we can do to help get Dana found and back home to her family, because there's another family that's been wondering now for going on, 17 years, 16 and a half years, where their loved one is and want her home. And so if she is no longer with us, that she can be, given a proper burial and, to see if she is still around, make sure she's okay and safe and get her home. So see what we can do.
Good night to Texas Panhandle Girl. She says, great show. She's gonna go do some things she's got to do. Rock is saying Utah has sand dunes also. I did not expect that either.
I didn't either. I did not either.
3 more flyers and we will get out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Tell us about David Michael Bowers Jr.
Okay.
Like this is a Missouri case. Ricky does have a Facebook page, Missouri Missing and Unsolved. It doesn't have as many followers, but he does post there as well.
Right. David Michael Bowers Jr. is missing from Afton, Missouri since September 12, 2021. 18 when he was missing. He's now 21, 5'10", 128 pounds, brown hair with green highlights, or I believe it's on the tips, and brown eyes. He is from Eldon, Missouri, and could possibly be in the areas near Eldon. And he was 18, now 21, 5'10", 128 pounds, brown hair that is in dreads with blonde and green tints and brown eyes. He was wearing a white and black hoodie, jeans, and white tennis shoes. He has multiple scars on his arm. He has multiple tattoos, including an eye image on his right thumb and Bart Simpson on his left arm. And you can see a couple pictures of him there. If you have any information regarding David's disappearance, his whereabouts, please call 911 immediately or call the Miller County, Missouri Sheriff's Office at 573-369-2341 or call Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their 800-877-3452. There is a $1,000 reward available for information leading to David's safe return. So let's see what we can do to help get David found and back home where he needs to be.
Ellen is saying thank you for sharing Dana and Rochelle's flyers every week.
You're very welcome. Anything we can do to help, Ellen will do. And Christopher Andrews says he has a cousin who was a student of one of the Carr brothers' murder victims. Oh, wow.
That's wild.
And this is a recent one that I just did. I do mainly Kansas because it's Kansas Missing and Unsolved, but every so often I'll get asked to do one from out of state, or I'll run across one from out of state that just really touches me in such a way that I feel that I need to do a flyer and put it out there. And this is one of those that just touched me in a certain way that made me feel like I needed to put a flyer up for her. So I did. This is Christine Marie Easton, missing from Hayward, California since January 18th, 1971. She was 19 when she was missing. She'd now be 73. She is 5'7", weighs between 130 and 135 pounds, has blonde hair and blue eyes. She had borrowed her former boyfriend's blue 1969 Ford Maverick on the evening of January 18th, 1972 in Hayward, California. She was going shopping with a friend and promised to wash the car before returning it later that night. Christine bought a pair of boots while shopping, dropped her friend off, and then continued to Charlie's Car Wash, a self-service wash on Mission Boulevard in Hayward, near her former boyfriend's workplace. She was supposed to pick him up from work, but she never arrived. The Maverick was located at the wash during the early morning hours of January 19th, the following day. Christine had apparently completed the washing the vehicle's exterior before she vanished. The car was locked and papers from the interior were lying on the pavement outside of the driver's door. The police officer who responded to the scene thought it appeared to be staged. Her boyfriend was questioned in her case and couldn't provide any useful information. He was eventually eliminated as a suspect. Authorities initially believed Christine had left Hayward of her own decision, but her family stated all of her personal belongings were still at her residence, and it was uncharacteristic of her to leave without warning. In 2019, nearly 50 years after Christine's disappearance, a witness came forward and said she had seen Christine being kidnapped but did not report it at the time because she did not realize what she was seeing. She said she saw two men at Charlie's Car Wash in a white van and caught a glimpse of the driver but not of the other man who was putting Christine in the back of the van. The witness also stated the van had distinctive rectangular side mirrors known as West Coast mirrors. Christine was last known to be wearing a black-brown leather coat, red, white, and blue pinstripe tunic, and a bluish gold scarf, blue slacks, and black boots. If you have any information regarding Christine's disappearance, please call the Hayward, California Police Department at 510-293-7000 or the FBI San Francisco Field Office at 415-553-7400 and see if we can't help get Christine located and back to her family. You know, it's been a long time, but I never give up.
Yeah. Real quick, if you're a Facebook user, please follow Ricky's page, Campus Unsolved. As you can see there, he is 94,000 strong as far as followers go. His flyers, if you look at his analytics, are reaching 1 million people every 30 days just through shares and stuff like that. So please, if you're a Facebook user, go check out Ricky's Facebook page, Kansas Missing and Unsolved. Follow it, and then when you see those flyers come across the screen, please share them, especially if they're in an area that you have friends in and stuff. And also come watch me and Ricky destroy every other YouTuber ever at SummerSlam in May. It's going to be wild. Ricky wants 2 belts, and I know he's a very determined fella. Last case of the night, and then Ricky's going to say a little prayer, then we will get out of here. Tell us about Michael Sean Owens.
Okay, this is one I just did recently also. Michael Sean Owens missing out of Harrisonville, Missouri since March 11th, 2023. He's 53 when he was missing. He's now 54. He's 6'1", 220 pounds, gray hair, blue eyes. Michael, who is from Miami, Oklahoma, as we mentioned, went missing from Harrisonville. He was there for legal proceedings in February 2023. He was scheduled to attend a virtual court hearing on March 23rd, 2023. He was not reported missing until October of 2023 by a family member from Missouri. He was last seen in a 2005 silver Ford F-250 Super Duty pickup with VIN number 1FTSW21505EC87119. The truck remains missing as well. The truck was registered under the name of Michael's brother, as Michael was legally blind and as a result of his disability was unable to obtain a driver's license. And at the time of his disappearance, again, he was 53. He's now 54, 6'1", weighs 220 pounds, gray hair, blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Michael's disappearance, you know of his whereabouts, please call the Harrisonville, Missouri Police Department at 816-380-8940 or call the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or 866-362-6422. See what we can do to help get Michael located and back home to his family.
How many flyers did we cover tonight, man? That was a lot.
Like 23.
23. Yikes.
Yeah.
We don't have any holidays coming up. We're good for a while, right? So we will be here just Wednesday night. You don't have like any meetings or anything this month or this week, or?
I don't remember when the next one's supposed to. I haven't seen a schedule for this year for meetings yet, so I don't know. I'll have to look and see.
All right. Well, more than likely we'll be live January 29th at 9 p.m. on all the channels we're live on tonight here. And yeah, that's gonna, the week after that'll be the February 5th, and I'll turn 42 2 days after that. So that's scary. So yeah, man. So Friday, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. And Ricky's gonna say a prayer to get us out of here. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Please go to Facebook and like Ricky's page. Please go to his YouTube and subscribe to him. And there's a lot of talk tonight. I think you got a lot of powerful people in your chat tonight, Ricky, as far as content creators and people that do a lot of investigating on their own. I think you might be getting some help from people that are pretty interested in your page right now. They think
awesome.
They think it's pretty cool what you're doing, man.
Any help would be greatly appreciated. Believe me.
Ricky loves help. Ricky loves help. He's really good. He's really easy to work with.
And Sheila's saying, "Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?" Oh wow!
I'll buy Rock we'll buy a participation trophy belt that we can give to all the other YouTubers. You and me will get the real one, obviously, Ricky, because we're the best YouTubers ever. But no, I think it's great. I really want to do the slam. I'd like to get all these creators together and, just everybody help. We could bring all your flyers, just get a lot of knowledge out there about some of the unsolved cases here in Kansas, some of the people that need to go home. And then you and me can just kind of show the world that we're the best, Rick. But you can just pray and get us out of here. And we love everybody. And thanks for hanging out. This is awesome.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You guys have a good night. And, as always, we always sign up with saying, Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. So let us go through these cases and really hope and pray we can bring somebody home or help solve an unsolved homicide in some way. I'm a firm believer that there's somebody out there that knows something that can unlock these cases. They just need to do the right thing and do it. And I pray that they do. And Heavenly Father, until we see each other again next week, keep us all safe, keep us healthy. Everybody have a good night. Amen. And God bless.
Love y'all. Take it easy.